Have you heard of the Gospel of Native Plants? Well, Paul Prill has. A long time ago, his yard was pretty much your typical suburban yard with lots of turf and lots of foundational plantings and the occasional shrub just for color. But he read this book and a couple of other books, and he saw the light. Now, his yard and landscape has over 100 species of native plants in 20 families, and he has 5 wildlife certifications for his yard, habitat certifications. Also, he has improved the soil here in the process, and he wants to share this gospel with everyone he meets, everyone. So Paul, most of your yard is shady, as we can see, but you have this one beautiful sunny spot. Tell us about it.
So I'm really happy I have this one beautiful sunny spot. There didn't used to be one. An oak tree came down over here and opened it up, and so I thought this is a great place to have some plants so the neighbors can see as they walk down the street, as they drive on their way to work, something that will keep them happy with what I'm doing in the rest of the yard.
Tell us about the plants you've chosen for here.
So all this used to be amber honeysuckle, by the way. There were 25 honeysuckle bushes back here that I removed along with the help of a neighbor not too long ago. Well, actually about 3 years ago now. The coneflower here that people recognize, the Coreopsis tinctura down here. There's still some Coreopsis lanceolata blooming in here. And then I've got these annuals in the front, the cosmos, but these are the sulfur cosmos. They're not the frilly, pretty cosmos. And I have them because when I've done butterfly counts, I've noticed that butterflies will visit these where they don't visit the frilly ones. And so I very carefully have tried to pick plants that I know are going to be attractive to pollinators.
So Paul, in the native plant world, devil's walking stick is not really a plant that a lot of gardeners are attracted to because of the thorns and the size of it and all, but you picked it.
Well, right? I picked it because it is I think, a really lovely plant. It kind of has this sense of palm tree almost to it, and what's really weird is that all these things that look like branches are just leaves, and they will fall off. It's a deciduous tree, and they fall off, and then a big flower comes up from what's left of the stalk to produce these leaves again the next year. And so it's really, I think, interesting and attractive, and it is native, so why not? Besides which, I'm a retired preacher, and every retired preacher needs to be reminded with a devil's walking stick, I think. And then around the corner is the shrubby St. John's wort. It's a smaller version of St. John's wort, which is good because who wants something that's 7 or 8 feet tall? But it has all the same attractive features to it. It's got a lot of pollen for pollinators, and it's got a little bit of nectar, and so they can get all the protein they need and some carbohydrates to move on to the next plant and continue gardening, continue foraging for their nests or for themselves.
You see a lot of bees on that?
I do see a lot of bees, although it's been a little weird. I'm surrounded by Mosquito Joe. And so as it gets warmer, I'll see more bees.
Okay, the prairie plant that you did, the Plains Coreopsis.
Yeah, the Plains Coreopsis.
Did you choose that as a little bit of a climate hedge? Like, let's get something in here that can take the heat and go.
Yes, take the heat, and something else that provides just a little pop of color.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly lance leaf Coreopsis in here. And so after a while you get a little weary of the same yellow aster. And so this thing with its red center is a really attractive feature.
Plus it adds to the diversity of your native plant.
It does, yes.
Okay.
So I really enjoy this plant. It's Aruncus dioicus, goat's beard. As you can see, the plant itself gets to be about 3 to 4 feet, but then the plume that comes off of it could be another 2 to 3 feet taller than that. And so it just sort of stands out in a woodland area. It requires a lot of shade, but it'll tolerate morning sun, which is good because at about 10 o'clock, this will be in the shade, and it will be in its perfect habitat.
And it does spread, but not aggressively,
It does spread,
right?
but not aggressively. It seems to be wind pollinated because I've got 5 or 6 up here. I only planted 3.
So Paul, lots of people have these hilly areas in their backyards, and you noticed it right away, being the astute person that you are, and you put in all these terraces yourself, right?
Yes, I moved every stone in here, all the soil I moved up here, up this nice incline. It was fun. I mean, this is the big challenge of this backyard, is slope and shade. And so I had to do a lot of research to figure out what might actually work in this area. So here we have the American native heuchera, alum root. It's not pretty in the sense that it's been bred for color or been bred for variegated leaves, but it's still doing exactly what you want it to do, and it is 100% native to Middle Tennessee.
As are 95%.
As are 95% of the plants in this whole area here.
Wonderful.
There's some more shrubby St. John there, but mostly we've got a lot of zigzag goldenrod, because in the winter or late fall, when there's almost nothing else going on, this is bright yellow with all the goldenrod, and it's really nice.
And it's hard to find a goldenrod that will bloom in the shade.
Absolutely.
Most of them bloom in full sun.
Full sun, love it. I've got some of those too. Behind me is
pollinators love that too.
Yes. I mean, it's covered up. And of course, you've got, bees need to eat in the fall.
Right.
And other things need the cover in the fall. I've got some Dicentra bleeding hearts behind me here. And then the oak leaf hydrangea, and there's several of those scattered around.
And I do want to talk a little bit about the dill that has hopped over from your vegetable garden to here. And your philosophy is?
My philosophy is if it's native or if it's useful, I will leave it. If it popped up there, it wants to be there, and so why tear it out?
Of course, in a shade garden, you notice the overhead canopy, because that's what makes it a shade garden. And I love these straight species eastern redbud trees. A lot of times redbuds, when they experiment, they don't get the right nectar, but this one being a straight species native, I love. It's a host plant, and it's also a great nectaring plant in the spring. You've got sycamore, you've got hackberry, you've got what other trees?
I've got silver maple, elm, hickory, and those are the big canopy trees.
Okay, and also then next, after the canopy layer, we go into the shrub layer, and I was surprised and delighted to see this.
This nice elderberry bush. There are 4 of them here.
Native plant.
It's usually not common to find elderberry in this much shade, but as you can see moving down the row, there's a lot of shade, a lot of sun in the morning, and it will persist on for about 3 to 4 hours down there. And so this one's done really well, though. It's 6-7 feet tall, and I'm really happy with it.
You ever do root cuttings on this?
I have. That's
Can I have one?
Yes, you certainly may.
Thank you.
One of them back there is one that I did from root cutting.
I would love to.
It's
have
really,
an elderberry.
really happy.
So, Paul, we've seen not only a lightning bug, but bumblebees on this little patch of clover you have here. Tell us how you use clover for both soil amendment and to enrich the soil and as a mulch.
So every clover is a nitrogen fixing plant, and it's living roots that stay in the soil, which help then water drainage and help to increase the virility of the soil. And so that's what I'm really trying to do is everything that I plant here, just leave it. When it dies back, just leave it. If I cut it, just leave the clippings and let it go back and put more organic material back in the soil.
How often do you cut this clover back during the season?
Maybe once a month.
Okay.
I'll trim it back a little bit, set it on the highest setting, and come through just so it doesn't look completely unkempt.
Okay. And do you notice a difference in weed suppression here and then in other bare soil areas?
So is this a weed? It's a pretty little flower. It's probably in the wildflowers of the Tennessee Valley. And so I don't consider that a weed. But for the most part, no, I don't get a lot of chickweed in here and don't have a ton of work to do in the spring.
Okay. You have a monarch way station, and this is part of it.
Yes.
And have you ever smelled common milkweed?
I have.
It is the most heady, fragrant flower smell, like vanilla, sweet vanilla. But lots of things will nectar on this, even though we haven't seen monarchs right now laying eggs, but it's still a great garden plant, but you need a lot of space.
Yes. This was 2 plants 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so now I have 12.
Yeah.
And I've pulled a few up to keep them out of this area over here.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So we have about 13 or 14 native milkweed plants in Tennessee. So this is just one, but it's one that the monarchs really love. So
I have 3 or 4 more down below. So
now, even though you have the plants to attract them, would they come if you use a whole lot of pesticides, et cetera, in your yard?
I mean, I don't do anything here. I like this guy. I don't know if you can see him or not, but there's a nice assassin bug.
Waiting for
some kind of decent prey.
And here's
the little ants apparently don't interest it very much.
yeah, they're too small.
But that's what you want. I mean, that's why I plant these things, to get all of the different fauna places where they can feed.
And do you have to tend this a lot? Does it need water?
Well,
Does
it doesn't.
need
no, I mean,
fertilizer?
No, no. Again,
Don't fertilize
material,
a common
leaf
milkweed.
material. Anything that might die in here, I just let it go.
Okay, so do you water anywhere in your gardens?
If I start to see these things start to wilt, I'll water. I have a rain gauge back there, and so if it's been a week or two and things are getting really dry, I will water. Otherwise,
You just use
no.
a hose?
Just use a hose.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So no soil amendments, very little water.
Right.
And you use green mulch and let plants die where they
That's
are
right.
to enrich the soil.
Yep.
So, okay. Great.
Easy peasy.
A lot of people love oak trees, and more Lepidoptera, which is butterflies and moths, use oak than any other tree in eastern North America. So you have found a cultivar.
I found an oak tree.
The problem is most of them get 100 feet tall.
Yes.
But you.
So this is the problem, is that I don't have space for another big tree in my yard, really. This is a dwarf chinkapin oak. So this tree tops out at about 20 feet, and as you can see in the canopy of this silver maple, I've got plenty of space up here. It's got about a 10-foot spread, so I've got 6 feet to the fence over here and 6 feet to the garden to this side of me. Plenty of space for this to actually fill in this one area without just overwhelming or being in the front where NES will cut it off.
That's great.
It is great. I'm happy to find it.
Paul, you have one of my very favorite small trees, large shrubs, this deciduous holly. And it's typical holly. It's in the ilex family, but it loses its leaves in the fall. But in place of it are these brilliant red berries, which actually do not ripen to where the birds really like it until March. And then the cedar waxwings will devour every berry within about a week. In this case, a day. It's wonderful. And tell us about your experience. It does have male-female trees, so you have a female though, because there are berries already on it.
Right.
So that's great.
Well, and I have another small one over there that I bought. This was actually a gift to me in exchange for some plants that I gave to a friend of mine. So I don't really know much about this plant. He just had it growing in his driveway. He had it for 3 years and hadn't found a place for it in his yard. He said, "Do you want to take this home, please?" And so I did. I took it home and I put it in my yard, and it seems like a fairly nice place for it.
Oh, it's a wonderful plant. I highly recommend it for suburban landscapes.
Yep.
It's great. Paul, you've told me about a number of demo gardens you have in your yard, which is part of your evangelistic routine. Tell me about this bed right here. What's here?
So this is a very small pollinator bed. Obviously, there are lots of small sunflowers in here that will get multiple flowers on them that are basically about 3 to 4 inches around instead of the huge sunflowers. That is a baby Joe Pye weed. There are some Salvia greggii, lyre leaf sage back here. An effort to try and show people that they can put native plants in their front or side or backyard easily without too much effort. And there's one Russian sage here, so they don't all have to be native.
No. Yeah. The lyre leaf sage is particularly attractive to the snowberry clearwing in the spring. And I have seen American bumblebee on the Salvia greggii too.
There's also some goldenrod in there, so we cover most of the bases.
You cover the seasons
Yes.
here, spring, summer, fall.
Yep.
That's great. It's hard to do 100% native, but you said that this front yard area is at least 80% native.
Yeah, when you take the whole spread all the way along the front
spread.
yard,
Okay,
it's 80% native.
But we all have to make concessions, don't we?
Yeah, so my wife loves spirea. So we have some nice Japanese spirea, even though it's on the Tennessee Invasive Plant Council list. I try to make sure it doesn't go to seed. And then I've got some lovely daylilies growing here, some flowering quince back in the back. There are some native plants, some blue salvia and some phlox and some turtlehead spread in here, but one of the turtleheads is at least the cultivar, the hot lips cultivar.
Okay. And another concession we all have to make is, well, we don't have to, but a lot of people have gone to less turf. You've gone to less turf. How many native grasses do you have now?
I have 7 native grasses spread all through the yard. And I really like them because, again, you don't have to water, you don't have to mow. They provide seeds in some cases, and they provide habitat for smaller critters.
And some sedges too, right?
And 2 sedges, at least, carex sedge, 4 sedges actually, Appalachian, Pennsylvania, carex, and woodii.
Oh, that's
spread
great.
through.
I love this garden patch. It's 10 by 5, and you have made the most of it. Tell us about what you put in here, what you chose.
So down in the front is some long steeple beard tongue there in front of this
nice.
bush. And right here, the things that you're seeing are related more to prairie plants. This poppy mallow is actually a kind of roadside plant that you'll see growing up along the roads like you will a few other things here. The rose verbena over here is something that is about level 3 or 4 in a cedar glade.
Yeah.
And
I love
so
that.
I'm trying really hard to create a cedar glade out there. But here I want to have the things that are associated with cedar glades, like that is. And this one I just ran across in a book on prairie plant things and thought, this is really beautiful. And when I saw that Mike Berkeley was selling it at Grow Wild, I thought, okay, if it's good enough for Mike, then I will put it in my yard as a native plant, even though it's probably a near native and not exactly a native.
That's cool. And tell us about the witch hazel. Does this bloom in the fall or the spring?
This blooms in the fall. You can kind of see here some of the leaves that are starting to emerge here. And in December, it gets these mostly indistinct yellow flowers on it. But if you're standing right here, you'll see them, and it's the only thing I know of that actually blooms close to the winter and on into winter for in the trees.
So does it stay through spring?
It stays through, well, it goes through February maybe, and then they start to dry up a little bit. But they're just beautiful, and they make me happy.
Well, that's important. So speaking of happiness, what's your overall philosophy of gardening?
So I basically am trying to create as much biodiversity as I can that's native to Middle Tennessee. Our guts do better if we have 30 to 40 different kinds of fruits and vegetables, spices and herbs. And our wildlife will do better if we have a wide selection of native plants. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is create as much biodiversity as I can to get as much fauna biodiversity as I can. Insects and birds, small mammals, things like that. And this stuff is not for me exactly, even though I love the color of this plant. It's for all the insects. And so that's what I'm trying to do, is to feed the wildlife around here.
Yes, the insect life is so important, not only for our own enjoyment, but over 90% of terrestrial birds in North America feed insects to their young. So if you bring in the insects, the birds will come too.
That's the plan. Actually, about 50% of the birds feed almost exclusively on insects. They don't like the seeds all that much, but certainly by the time they get young, they need, and we get up to 95% of the birds that have to have lots and lots of insects to feed their babies.
And even in this shady area, you still have bluebirds in your bluebird box, which is
2 years in a row we've
amazing.
had birds nesting in there.
That's
I'm really
great.
excited.
That's incredible. Tell us if you have any advice for either newbie gardeners or maybe established gardeners from your heart.
So I thought about this, and lots of advice, but the one thing I would say above everything else is don't be afraid. 3 years ago, I knew absolutely nothing about gardening or native plants. I decided when I retired I wanted to be a master gardener, and from there things just kind of took off into native plants, and I have obviously spent a lot of time learning about that and creating a native plant garden. But don't be afraid. The nice thing about native plants is they love poor soil, they don't require a lot of attention, and so you can create a pollinator pathway in your yard without having to spend tons and tons of time trying to figure out whether or not you're qualified to put something in the ground.
Okay, so fear not.
Fear not.
Yeah. All right, that's great advice. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It was wonderful.
This has been fun.
Yes.
I love showing off my yard.
Yes, evangelizing more people.
That's right.
If you love gardening as much as I do, you'll want to subscribe to this channel. We showcase not only gardens, but gardeners as well, and the joy that the two of those meshed together can bring.